Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole, and today is a very, very special day, and I'm happy to be sharing it with you now. For those who are live or even who are on this day, it represents the day before the passing of my mother, Doris Cole. She passed 1 year ago on May 5th, and I remember so vividly sharing that period over the course of probably at least a year. I very openly talked about her transition time. I always talk about my mother, have forever, but that was a very tender time for me, and I remember feeling that, as with everything else, if I'm going through something, there's a chance that others are going through something similar. And if I shared that part of my journey, it might benefit somebody else. It certainly benefited me being able to talk about just the lessons that I learned from her and the challenges of watching the most important person in my world since I was born uh, make her way to whatever's next. And it was definitely tough. It was a tough year, but it was also a beautiful year because, as my sister Susan pointed out at some point, that Doris Cole taught us how to live with dignity and die with dignity. Susan is in California, so she was mainly being with Mama on the phone, and thank God for video chats because we were on with her every day. My sister Stephanie, God bless her, was there in Baltimore with her all the time for years, and in the final years, so very present, she and her family. And I always talk about lessons from my mother. I've been doing it forever because her lessons are so very present in my awareness that they're part of my DNA. And when I'm coaching people, doing my professional coaching, I bring up my mother. When it's public speaking engagement, I bring up my mother. When I'm on broadcast, I bring up my mother. Why? Because she pulses through me, and I'm honored to be able to live her lessons. The lesson that I chose to focus on today, which was a primary lesson that we learned by observing, is what I've chosen to focus on today, which is to choose joy. Choose joy. And this lesson is something that just was in my mother's breath, that no matter what was going on, she made a focus, a giant-sized focus to choose joy no matter what. That did not mean that if things needed to be addressed, that she didn't address them. It did not mean that she wasn't tough as nails when she needed to be. She was absolutely not a pushover. She was very strong and very clear. But in all of that, no matter what was happening, she would make the decision that this could be an uplifted moment, it could be a learning experience, and that on all sides of it, it was possible to stay in the space of joy moving through it. Because if you understand that there's a lesson to be learned, that also we must live through each moment if we are to be alive, then how do we approach that? And so I wanted us to think about, what does that mean? Especially today, there's so much going on in our world, so many things that we can honestly complain about. I'm going to say probably every single one of us. It doesn't matter how many good things are part of our life. We all have something that we could complain about, something that isn't going well, somebody who did us wrong, something that is not settling well within us, something that can make us shrink, something that could steal our joy. And yet we don't have to let that happen. So I want to go backwards for a moment to say, in preparing for today, because I knew from a while back that I wanted to honor my mother in the week of her passing here on Inspiration. I said, well, what does that look like? And as I've gotten older, I have pictures of myself and my mom where I actually do look like her a little bit, maybe more than a little bit. We have the same smile. I never really thought of that because uh, she was very fair skinned and I'm brown. And so, color can make you have other thoughts. And I'm going to say to my producer, oh, Fallon, you're so good. You already have it. You can pull up the picture of Mama. I was going to say, Fallon, could you find a picture of Mama? And of course she has it. So for those who are watching, you can see there she is. There's my mother. And so we have the same smile. I have her smile, I should say. But also, do you notice the red lips? I'm not a red lipstick girl, but in honor of my mother, I said, yes, I am today. Today, I'm going to be a red lipstick girl to be like my mother. That is a picture of her when I guess she was 94. She passed away. Oh, actually, no, that may be from her 95th birthday. She lived until 95. She was heading toward 96 when she passed. But she was a stylish girl. She had her hair laid. She had her lipstick on no matter what. She had her earrings on. If she didn't have on earrings and lipstick, then something was off. And actually, I remember years before when my father was ill, one day, my sister Stephanie's eldest child, Corey Morgan, was the little girl. And she noticed that Mama went out without her earrings. And she said, Mommy, something's wrong with Mama. She forgot her earrings because she had her style down. And it was true. My father was ill and she had forgotten. She hardly ever forgot. So style was important to her. She showed up correct, whatever that meant for her. And it was with great style and precision about the way she put herself together. But what she taught us is beauty is as beauty does. And beauty has to come from the inside first. And how we live our lives, how we treat others, how we show up for ourselves and for others is essential for living a life that's even worth living. And she felt, and I certainly have inherited this, that includes looking good, because when you show up looking good, it helps to draw your inner smile and it helps others to share a smile with you. It makes a difference if you are looking your best. And I know that's part of our cultural heritage. Showing up in your Sunday best has been a thing for generations way before mine. Ancestrally, showing up as your best has just always been what we do. We show up as our best, and that absolutely includes accessing your joy. So regarding my mom, even in the darkest of days, she reached for joy. It's hard if you're in pain. The last year or so of her life were really challenged physically. And she lived to be 95, and her body was cranking down. Her body didn't want to go on anymore, but her brain was like, no, I got to be with my family. I mean, it was her will that kept her alive. She wanted to be with us. We wanted to be with her. We have a small family, but a very, very loving family. And her choice of joy then was holding on. I want to be here for them, with them. That means so much right now. And as I've been contemplating it, this is part of why I wanted to share it with you. It's not so much as a memorial to her, but it is that too. It is when we live in love, when we live honoring those who are part of our blood lineage and our chosen family, it makes such a difference. It makes everything sweeter. If you only live for work, what happens when work goes away? If you only live for something outside of what makes you you, what happens when that's gone? Virginia writes, Philippians 4:8 encourages us to choose joy despite our surroundings. Amen, Virginia. Doesn't matter what your surroundings are. Think about our ancestors. Think about it. Think about people from the times of slavery who didn't have the authority to control their bodies, their movement, their lives. They still claimed joy. And many of them were revolutionaries. They didn't just say, "Oh, this is okay. It's okay for me to live like this." They were trying to find their way out of it. But nonetheless, they claimed joy. And I want to impart that to all of us. No matter what is going on, we can claim joy. My sister Stephanie she is just a bundle of light and love, just exactly like my mother, and a powerhouse in her working world, in the world, in her family. And at some tender moments for her, I remember her saying, "I am not going to let anyone steal my joy. I'm not." Think about that. I will not let anyone steal my joy. How often have we allowed that? Think of it. I teach journalism at FIT, and I was talking to some of the students, and it's the end of the semester, so we're talking about getting, striving to get the best grade you can, striving to do the best you can. And I was telling them, some of them, about my college journey, which was a really good journey. I went to Howard University, it was great. And so for me, I'm Harry Cole's daughter. He was class valedictorian at Morgan State. I wanted to be like him. And I ended up getting 2 Bs when I was in college. I don't remember what the classes were, but here's what I remember. It was because of a boy. Anybody have this experience other than me? I got distracted. I was dating someone who turned out to be stone cold crazy. And I took my eyes off the prize and allowed the distraction and negativity of what had been a really positive relationship but turned really bad. I allowed that to derail my focus. And I mean, 2 Bs isn't bad, but for me, it didn't need to happen. It happened because I stopped paying attention. I allowed him to steal my joy. We don't have to do that. And so it's in the moment of awareness when we see that this is happening, that's when we can reclaim it. Whether it is a love relationship, a friend relationship, work, family, neighbor, passerby, things happen. We are human beings. And as human beings, we have feelings, and our feelings can get hurt. I don't care who we are. Yes, I am sensitive. I admit it. My husband says I'm too sensitive. I don't know if that's true or not, but people have their opinions. But I will say I am sensitive. So when people say or do things that are mean, unkind, short-sighted, not thoughtful, I feel it. I'm sure many of you do as well. Sometimes when I feel it, it knocks me off my center. Sometimes it makes me incredibly sad, angry, whatever those thoughts and feelings are. And when I realize that I'm in that state, whatever that state is that is not joyful, that is contracted, that is unhappy, that is, fighting, that is diminished. When I realize that I'm in that state, that is when I take a breath and recenter myself. See, this is where my decades of meditation comes in handy. I don't have to stay in that space, and neither do you. You don't have to stay there. You can recenter yourself. You can decide, I can let that feeling go. I can reclaim my joy. In this moment, no matter what is going on, I can choose joy. Have you seen, if you look at a video of people walking around in the aftermath of natural disasters, which are happening more and more these days, the house is leveled. Like there's just shards of glass and and wood that doesn't look like wood anymore, and the furniture's over here or there. And while they're devastated, person to person, I see people saying, but I'm here and my family's here and we're resilient and we're going to be able to survive this. And then you keep watching, and just a glimmer of a smile often comes upon their faces. And it's like, where did that come from? How did they find that? Because we are stronger than the challenges before us. We can weather those challenges if we choose joy. Now, the opposite is if we do not, we can perish, we can diminish. You know, I've told the story before, but there was a woman in my neighborhood growing up where a lot of families were tight families, you know, father, mother, children, we all played together. One family, when we were young, the husband left and they got divorced. And the wife was so shocked that her husband left. She just really, she wasn't prepared for it. She didn't know what to do. She got really sad and depressed. And I remember my older sister, who was still a child at that time, Susan, we went over to visit this lady, and I won't say her name out of respect for her, but for her privacy. But we went over, and Susan said, Miss So and so, you better get your act together. You know, whatever the language was at the time, the colloquial, you know, you need to be happy. You need to stop worrying about this. And she was basically in her big little girl voice lecturing her because she could see. She said, if you don't change, you're gonna die. And I was like, Susan, you're talking to an elder. And Susan has always been the one to cut through the chase and just say what's true. But guess what? This lady passed away. It is true. I mean, there's actually been scientifically proven that people can die of a broken heart. That emotion can shut you down and kill you. Our neighbor could not access her joy anymore. She felt like her joy walked out the door with her husband. While that is a tragic experience to lose a marriage, to lose a spouse, a loved one, we are resilient. We can survive anything, but we have to make that choice. It is a choice, it's an action. And I think it's a muscle that we develop. You know, the muscle of choice, that verb is such a, to choose, to make a choice, a conscious choice to do something is huge. And we make choices every day. You make the choice to get up out of bed in the morning. How many times do you push that snooze button? You make the choice to fulfill whatever responsibilities you have accepted for yourself or not. You make the choice to move through your day however you have decided you want to do it, and or not, or not. I've told you about my dear friend who, another one who got depressed, and when she would be sad, she would call it taking to her bed. She would go get in the bed, pull the covers over her head, and just hide. And she was clear. She declared that this is what she does, and this is what she was gonna do. You couldn't say anything else. This is how she dealt with uh, pain, tragedy, whatever. And I remember battling with her. No, no, don't do it. Get out of bed. Let's go do whatever, whatever. And then I realized everybody makes a choice. And I don't need to judge her for her choice, just like she wasn't judging me for whatever choices I make, some of which are not healthy. Uh, but I remember it because the alternate to choosing to hide, or an alternate of choosing to hide, is to show up armored with joy. You can show up with the cloak of joy around you so that you feel stronger. And for those of you who are people of faith, that joy, I mean, that cloak of joy is a cloak of faith. To believe that no matter what, you can access greatness. That no matter what is going on, there is a moment of joy in there that is sweet, that is like nectar. And don't we deserve to connect to that? Yes. Yes, we really do. I want to remind you guys, we used to do this last year, but if you'd like to come on and talk to me right now, come on screen, you actually can. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm remembering to say it now for anybody who might want to. You come to the website, harrietcole.com/inspiration, and Fallon's putting it up on the screen. And if you'd like to talk to me, just say hi. I would love for somebody to come and say hi on this day that I'm celebrating my mother and celebrating life and love and joy. That would be so sweet. I'm going to the comments for a minute because I see Majin says, wow, my alma mater. Now, is that Morgan or Howard? You have to tell me. Um, Laura, dear Laura says, 2 weeks ago today, my mother-in-law, almost 95, passed away. Oh, blessings. The lesson I learned from her, she always chose joy. Another great subject. Thank you, Harriet. Laura, I remember you sharing about your dear mother in 95. What a blessing to live that long. They saw so much. They lived through so much. And I truly believe when they live that long, they're hanging on for us. That there is love in their life that is bigger than they are. It usually includes family. It's often the family of loved ones who are important to them, even if they are not blood family, the chosen family. And how fortunate we are to have them. So I know if she passed away almost 2 weeks ago, you are still feeling it. It's very, very tender. I still feel it too, but you know what? I felt when my mother passed and now she's so present. I mean, she's right here with me. As I said, I talk about her every day. And I think therefore people get to know her, but isn't that legacy? That the legacy of us continuing to share about our loved ones, our ancestors, keeps them alive. Virginia is here writing in from Alabama. Peace and blessings. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in so often. I really appreciate that. Okay, so who's the brave soul who wants to come on and talk to me? Laura, would you like to come on and talk in this tender moment? That would be so sweet. Laura and I know each other through our meditation practice, which has been, one of the very best things I've ever done in my life is to learn meditation and join this community, this global community of people who just help to remind you of the greatness within and that we can always tap into that greatness no matter what is going on, that we can always do that. So back to just how do we apply choosing joy in our daily lives? I recently, I am working on a project that is a big project and tough. And sometimes when you're working on things that are tough, it can get even tougher when you're trying to get it to the finish line and be as good at it as possible. And it can test your emotions, it can test your confidence. And I think part of choosing joy helps you to remain in your confidence. And so at a certain point, I found myself becoming very emotional. And typically, when you get very emotional about something, it doesn't really work to speak in that moment. What happens is it helps you to be, it helps to be still, it helps to breathe, it helps to meditate, it helps to journal it before you say anything out loud. And that's what I did. I felt emotional. I did my very best to neutralize that emotion and be practical and clear for myself and for others, to be honest and respectful. And I say that to say, oh, by the way, Laura says, thanks for the invitation and my kind words, but she's headed for an appointment. Thank you for just being present for the time that you have been, Laura, and blessings to you and your family during this tender time. Virginia Jones wrote, my 96-year-old mom. Oh, Virginia, I know you've been taking care of your mom for so long. You said she is struggling with not being able to do what she used to do. I try to comfort her and show her she is so blessed, but it is very hard at times. I'm glad that you're saying this now. Thank you for offering this insight, Virginia. And, we have talked, Virginia has been coming on to inspiration for years. And she's been taking care of her mom, and it's just beautiful to see she moved back home to be with her mom. It's so much easier said than done, all the things that we talk about on inspiration. Like, at whatever age you are, unless you're very young, what you could do before, you may not be able to do now. And that is hard to accept. Like, I've talked to some way elders, like probably Virginia's mom was 96, but, maybe not even that old, who are like, I used to be able to run however many miles. I used to be able to do this or that. And then the I used to is just like, yeah, used to, can't do now. Have to recalibrate and recognize my brain, for people blessed with the brain to work well, my brain is still telling me I can do anything. My body is defying that. And what do you do? Well, in order to be safe, you do have to accept what your body can and cannot do. You don't have to resign to it, but you do need to accept this is what my body allows me to do now, and somehow make peace with it. Super hard to do. But what can you do? Like when my mother became wheelchair bound, which was after COVID, really after negligence in the hospital. She was 90 when she got COVID, and that was when everybody was super scared. It was in 2000, and they just didn't handle elders well at all, including in the hospital. She was wheelchair bound for 2 years, was able to walk a little bit after, but mostly not. How do you go from being able to drive and being able to dance and being able to take yourself to the bathroom to needing help? And it was depressing for her at first. Like, who am I? How did this happen to me? And how it happened is life happens, all kinds of things happen. But how do you deal with it? Well, because she was always pleasant, she was very kind to everyone, including the helpers who would help her transfer from the wheelchair to the toilet, from the wheelchair to the bed. Virginia, in your case, I know you are the one who has whatever the duties are for your mother. That's incredibly difficult for you, but also probably hard for her because she was the one who was taking care of you when you were little. There are no easy answers, but to be grateful for the breath that we can breathe, for the moments spent with loved ones, and for figuring out somehow, some way to be grateful for whatever we do have. I can't do this thing like I used to, but I can do this other thing. I am willing to make every effort to live my best life, even if it's much smaller than what I had before. What is my best life now? How can I find joy now? Is it picking up the phone and calling a loved one? Is it writing a note and asking someone to put it in the mail because you still like that handwritten note? Is it drawing? Is it praying and meditating? What is it? What is it that can bring you joy right now? How can you choose joy even in those tender moments when you physically are having difficulty, when you spiritually are feeling broken, when your work is not going the way you want, when your relationships are not clicking the way that you really believe you deserve? When something is going wrong, how can you choose joy again? Take a breath. Welcome joy into your heart. Believe that you deserve to be happy, to have that deep foundational happiness. Be like Doris Cole and smile. Have the inner smile and the outer smile that welcomes others into the fold of your joy. I thank you so much for joining me today. This is a very special day for me as I remember Doris Freeland Cole. Can you bring up her picture again, Fallon? For those who can see, this is my dear mother, and she lived to be 95 years young, as she would say. We called her our bright light. She was and is, she remains the light that blazes inside of me and my sisters and our families. And we are just honored to be able to celebrate her. And this week to celebrate one of her profound messages, to choose joy. And I hope that you do that actively all day today and every day. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.